So one of the most effective tools we have for working with athletes or to troubleshoot people that have injuries is to look at the things that they do that cause their symptoms or what they want to get back to that their injury has prevented them from doing. And I like to use a program called Dartfish to do that. So I want to outline a little bit about what it is and then how we use it for different specific movements. So using any of your smart devices, Dartfish is an app that allows you to record video, go fast forward, play at different speeds, kind of telestrate like the old school football broadcasts. You can do comparisons of two different kind of trials of the same movement. You can measure angles, you can measure distances. So it does a lot of different things. It has a lot of different features that you can utilize to analyze movement. We always want to make sure that we get at least two different views of the same thing because your eyes can deceive you if you only kind of get one perspective on anything. Or, it's the human body moves in three dimensions. So if you only kind of look from profile or from a top down or what have you, you might not get kind of the full picture of what's happening or kind of trick yourself into thinking one thing or another. So we always want to get at least two different shots of the same thing. When it comes to working with beginners, we want to look at the very basics of like proper technique and generally perform these analyses with low loads, low intensity, just to make sure that they're off to kind of the like a strong start on the right footing. With advanced athletes, we want to get a little bit closer to their failure state. So always warm them up and all that, of course, but then we want to get to heavy enough working sets where their technique might start to break down or the issue might kind of make itself known. We also then want to correlate that back to, okay, I see this and this on the video. Does that relate to what we find on our on the table assessment or where they're weak, where they're tight, et cetera. So in this video, we have an expert in the deadlift who hasn't been partaking of late. You can see a profile view here, low load. He drops down and kind of grabs the bar and then stabilizes himself. So from this view, we can see things like the bar path, and there are ways to kind of put tracers on there to track that more formally. We can also kind of see that this participant starts with some flexion in the upper back and kind of locks in, a more extended / neutral spine position before actually pulling, which obviously is a great habit to be on. We can learn a lot from that bar path in terms of what's happening between that leg pressing versus hip thrust kind of lockout, in the second phase of the movement beyond the knee. Looking from the backside, it's a lot more about alignment, foot positioning, what one leg is doing versus the other, that sort of thing. So we might want to measure the distance between this person's heels, where their stance lies versus the knurling on the bar, looking at the angles of kind of the hips and therefore where the whole leg ends up, like the middle of the foot ends up pointing. It's a good example of that joint measurement kind of tool. And then even, at a fairly low load, this particular person seems to really kind of favor leaning towards their right side, which I would assume is a hand dominance kind of thing. But even, in a low load kind of easy condition, you can pick up on some of these subtle things that might be relevant down the road or be a part of your analysis besides just, this particular lift. So there's always what do we see and then what do we do about it? So you see where a position breaks down, or somebody has great technique and then at a certain weight it starts to fall apart. Their knee collapses in, their heel comes off the ground, their shoulder gets wonky in a bench, whatever the case may be. So then you correlate that with range of motion testing, special testing, strength screening, all that stuff. And that really becomes kind of the bedrock of your prescription of what somebody should be working on. If it seems to be more of a technique kind of issue as opposed to length or strength, then at least it gives you ideas of what you need to be cueing for, have somebody look out for, or squeeze or push a certain way, or do whatever kind of verbal cues or things to focus on during the lift. And then it also offers you the opportunity to have the point in time where you first recorded, you work on their correctives or you work on cueing and technique work, and then you bring it back and record it again. And then look at that side by side. Like, am I getting that carryover? Am I getting the result that I want from all that work? So it's just a vital part of improving over time with any athlete.